and welcome to Tiffany's Toolkit, a channel dedicated to sharing and explaining resources that will help you succeed both professionally and personally. In today's video, I want to talk about the Pomodoro technique. This video is going to be broken into three segments. First off, I'm going to explain what the Pomodoro technique is and what tools to use. Then I'm going to explain how I specifically use Pomodoro to get more done in a less amount of time. And then I'm going to give you a really cool bonus tip that I've discovered that'll help you get a lot more out of the Pomodoro technique. There will be timestamps in the description below so that you can skip to any portion of the video that you specifically want to learn about in case you don't have time to watch the entire thing. So with that said, let's dive right in. So first off, the Pomodoro technique was discovered by Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s, and it is a fairly simple technique. You can choose to follow the core process exactly to the T, or you can modify it. And I'm going to go into more details about some of the ways I've modified it to be more effective later on in the video. First, I just want to explain to you the basics, the core process from the actual website of the creator himself. So first off, what you want to do with the Pomodoro technique is to choose a task you'd like to get done. Whatever you choose, whether it's something big or something small, the purpose is that you are going to give your full undivided attention to it during this segment of the Pomodoro technique. Which leads us to the second step, which is where you set the Pomodoro for 25 minutes. What this basically means is, even though this picture is showing you a specific timer tool, what this means is that you set any kind of timer that you would like to use. And I'm going to explain some of the timers that I've used and what are the best tools, at least in my experience. What you do is you set a timer for 25 minutes. It doesn't have to be 25 minutes, but this is the core process. Normally, you set a timer for 25 minutes, and then in the third step, during that 25 minutes, you're going to work specifically on that task you laid out in the first step until your timer rings, until 25 minutes have passed. Then in the fourth step, once the timer rings, you are going to note if you finish that task with a check mark. Then after that, you take a short break, which is just an important step, is the undivided working. Normally, the short break is 5 minutes. So you work for 25 minutes on that task you laid out. When the timer rings, you take a 5-minute short break, which you would use to do something not work related. This is also important to this being effective. You need to use this time to breathe or meditate, grab a drink, go for a short walk, do something you can do comfortably in 5 minutes that's going to help refresh your brain. And then you would rinse and repeat and start back up at the top. Choose another task or continue the task that you didn't complete in the last segment. Then do another 25 minutes. Then when the Pomodoro rings, put a check mark if you've finished it, and then take another 5-minute short break. So you're going to do that segment 4 times, and they're called Pomodoro. So every 4 Pomodoro, you're going to take a longer break, which is usually 10 to 20 minutes. Do whatever longer break works out best for you. You can do the classic 30 minutes if it makes sense for you to do so. And then after you take that longer break, you can rinse and repeat and start back at the top of the core process and keep working your way down for however many hours that you would like. So you could conceivably do this for 4 hours or a whole 8-hour day, or maybe you can just do one set of 4 Pomodoros and you're done. Do this in whatever time segment works best for you. So that is the basics of what the Pomodoro technique even is. But you don't have to follow this exact core process so long as you maintain the general structure of it enough for it to be effective. So what I want to talk about next is the tools you can use for the timer aspect of the Pomodoro technique. Now, you could just use a timer on your phone, um, set it for however long you want to work. Um, list the task in however way you would like to list it, whether that's on a piece of paper or on a Microsoft Word document. And then with your phone, you could set a timer for 25 minutes or 30 minutes or however long you'd like to work. And then when that timer goes off, you can set a timer for 5 minutes or a 10-minute break in between, whichever you think feels best for the task at hand. You can also just very simply go to google.com and search timer and then just pull up whatever first timer comes up and put in, you know, however much time you're going to work, and then start it that way. Or you could choose to purchase a clock such as this one that's really easy from Amazon.com, where all you do is you move the hand of the timer of the countdown to however much time you want, and then it'll count down and ding when it's ready. However, even though these are very simple techniques to either use this tool from Amazon or to just use a timer on your phone or through Google, I wouldn't recommend you do that because it's going to be very hard for you to remember to set the 25-minute, then set the 5 minute, then set the 25-minute, then set the 5 minute over and over and over again. Chances are, once you really start getting into the rhythm, you're just going to forget. It has happened to many people I've seen do it that way. One point they forget to take the break, or they forget to put the timer on at all, and then they're not actually effectively using Pomodoro anymore. So I wouldn't suggest using a tool that doesn't automatically set the work in the break and the work in the break time for you, where you have to manually remember to do it every time, because then it's just too easy to lose track of the time. And once you lose track, then you're not effectively doing Pomodoro anyway. So, what I do suggest instead is a tool that tracks it for you. Now, when I first started, I used the tomatotimer.com. I used this for a few years and really enjoyed it. But what I found, unfortunately, and the reason why I no longer use tomatotimer.com is that every now and then it gets confused itself somehow. So instead of doing Pomodoro followed by the short break automatically, it'll keep doing Pomodoro over and over and over again. So it'll skip the short break. But I won't be paying attention to that because I'm expecting that it's working on its own without me having to do anything with it. So what ends up happening is I work in my segment of time, and then it just repeats the Pomodoro without giving me a short break. And I might try to take the short break because in my mind, I know that I'm supposed to, but then the timer never goes off in 5 minutes because it's already started on the Pomodoro. Next thing I know, I'm out of my work rhythm. I'm trying to figure out why the website isn't working correctly. And then it frustrates me and I'm not getting as much done. So Tomato Timer is what I used previously, but I don't suggest it just because I have seen it get broken too many times for me to want to use it again. So what I do recommend now, the tool that I use most is called Pomodoro Tracker at pomodoro-tracker.com. So now that I'm talking about the tool that I actually use, I want to go into how I specifically use Pomodoro to get more done in the least amount of time. First off, let me explain how this website works and how you can adjust the time and what times you should do that makes sense for you. So when you go to pomodorotracker.com, what you want to do is you want to click on the settings tab. And once you get here, you can adjust the settings on your own. So the website will usually have in automatic schemes for you to choose from. These are probably defined on my own. These are the times that I use personally or at work the most. So you don't have to choose the schemes that they have here. You can choose the time you want for your own self. So the classic Pomodoro technique is 25 minutes of Pomodoro, a 5 short break, and then a um, long break of 20 to 30 minutes. And the long break delay every 4 Pomodoros is what it's normally like. I think it's very important that you click auto start Pomodoros. So when you click that, what ends up happening is it'll automatically start the next timer for you. You don't have to manually go in. I recommend this so that you do not lose the rhythm and the flow of Pomodoro and just forget to update the timer. If you're not going to auto start the Pomodoros, there's really no reason, honestly, in my opinion, to use a website like this. If you're not going to auto start, you might as well just use the timer on your phone or go to google.com and use whatever timer pops up there. There's no reason to use something like this if you're not going to have an auto start. And you should also make sure auto start breaks is selected alongside auto start Pomodoro. This way, everything is really smooth the whole way through. You can also set daily goal. I tend to not do this. I would prefer to work however many hours I set to work. For example, today is Wednesday, and on Wednesday, I record videos. And I work generally from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And during that general span of time, I work on Pomodoros the whole way through up until I reach 8 p.m. I give myself a schedule of 2 to 8 instead of giving myself a daily go of, I don't know, let's say I want to get to 50 Pomodoros and I want this to keep going until I get to 50. I just don't do it that way because it's hard for me to keep track. Um, I don't think of a day in terms of how many Pomodoros I've completed. I think in a day of how much is done specifically in the time frame I gave it. Maybe I open this website to only work for an hour, or I open this website to work for 5 or 6 hours. That's the way I go about my day. So the daily goal just doesn't make sense to me. But if you prefer to think of your day is a collection of Pomodoros, you can do this. So this to-do list section is really great at making sure that you are accountable to whatever you are working on during your Pomodoro segment. So what's really cool is you can choose the category, and it doesn't have to be what's in this drop-down menu. You can type in, the category, however many categories as you like, even if it's not already in this drop-down menu. So let's say you already know in advance what all you want to work on during your Pomodoro segment. So let's say that for work, you first want to start your day by clearing through emails. So then you would type that in here, and you would click this plus sign to add this to your to-do list. And you would click this favorite if this is a task that every time you open pomodorotracker.com, you know you're going to be doing. So then you add this to your to-do list. And what you're going to notice is that what shows up under this 25 minutes is now clearing through emails. And then you can just continue to add tasks to the list. So let's say after you finish clearing through your emails, the next thing you want to do is research for a project. So then you would add that. And then after that, you know that the next thing you want to do is design a photo for social media. But let's say this is your personal task, and then you add that. So what you've noticed is that every time you add something, that automatically becomes the new thing under here. But let's say you don't want to start your day by designing a photo. You definitely want to start it by clearing through emails. You just wanted to get this list written out ASAP before you forgot anything. So the cool thing about this website is that what you do is you would just click and hold and put it at the top so that this becomes the first task you do. And let's say after that, you want to research for a project. Move that to below that so that becomes the second task. And then design a photo for social media. And then once you've finished a task, it will populate down here to let you know how many things you finished. And then there's also this focus, which will keep track of how well you actually worked on that task. If you had 3 tasks on your to-do list and you only finish this first one and then you're done for the day, you will know that you weren't very focused, or at least something came up with this one task that meant that it overpowered everything else. So I want to go back to the settings, and I want to talk about the times you should set for your duration. I've noticed that it depends honestly on the type of work you're going to be doing to make this effective. And so do 25 minutes of Pomodoro and about 5 or 10 minutes of break if it's a task that does not require you to think heavily and doesn't take a lot of time. But if it is a complicated task like editing or developing a big project, give yourself more time in the Pomodoro duration and a little bit more time in the short break duration to make up for that. However, another tip is that I do not suggest that you ever go above 50 minutes for a task, no matter how hard it is. You don't want to have it set here that you're going to work 120 minutes every duration. I just think that that kind of defeats the purpose of why Pomodoro is effective. Something about the steady rhythm of getting a lot of work done in 50 minutes or 25 minutes, and then taking a short break, and then a lot of work done in 25, and then taking a short break. The rhythm of that, the rhythm of putting your task in a bit by bit hour or 25-minute segment assigned to each task is what makes it effective. So just to go back to an example of how I use Pomodoro effectively even today. Today, when I woke up, I said to myself from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., I'm going to work on my YouTube channel. That's the focus of the day, and 2 to 8 is the time that I'm doing it. So then after I decided that 2 to 8 p.m. is the time frame that I'm going to dedicate to YouTube today, what I then went and did is I found just a piece of paper at my desk and I manually listed all the tasks that I want to do in that 2 to 8 p.m. time frame. I don't put the task that I want to complete on this website. I figure as long as I have tasks written somewhere, it's still going to be effective. And that's a really important tip for this to work. You need to have tasks written somewhere, whether it's on this website or whether it's on your own piece of paper or on Excel or however you want to do it. And I generally try to start first with something that is really simple. And the reason I do that is because it makes me feel successful, like an easy win. So first I put a 1 next to the task that I think is easiest to do. And then right after that, I put a 2 next to the task that is most hard to do, which is called eating the frog. And the reason I do it in that order is because you want an easy win that makes you feel good. You want to feel good by being able to cross off something quickly. And then you want the second thing to be a hard task you would normally put off because you want to get that out the way ASAP. Otherwise, if you don't make that the second or third task of the day, what ends up happening is you never ever get to the really complicated thing. You spend all your work time doing all the easy tasks, and you never make it to the hard task. And what ends up happening is by the end of your workday, even though you do feel good about how much you've checked off, you're going to spend time dreading having to do that hard task every time until you do it. So don't put it last. Don't have to waste energy on not getting to that today or not finishing it today and then having to put it off into the next day and then all over again doing it last and never getting to it. Don't do that to yourself. Do an easy task first so that you feel good about completing something, then do the hard task next. And then after that, just focus on the other most important things on your to-do list. So that is how I really, really use my to-do list effectively with the Pomodoro technique. So what's really cool also about this website is that when you click open another tab, you will always be able to see the timer here. And then when it is time for the break, what will happen is right here on this side, a notification will pop up and it will tell you, hey, in 1 more minute, you're about to be in your short break. So then you're ready to brief yourself. You're ready to kind of wind down with your work and say to yourself, okay, in a minute, I'm about to be in a short break. You take a breather and you get ready for that short break. And then what will happen is whatever other screen you're on in your other tab, this website will automatically pull you back to the website so you can see the time and be prepared for your break. Then after your break ends, it'll restart again automatically. So that way you don't have to be too concerned about this tab. When I've brainstormed and just written everything that I want to get done on my to-do list, and then really sit down and organize the most important tasks, then my Pomodoro is very efficient because it's very focused, because I know that during the work duration that I'm going to work really hard on whatever task is assigned to that Pomodoro. So I said that I would have a bonus tip to make Pomodoro much more effective for you. So I want to explain what that tip is. And that is doing the Pomodoro with someone else. This is how I actually even discovered what Pomodoro is. So a few years ago, I was the operations manager at a co-working space where a lot of entrepreneurs and freelancers all gathered together to get more work done in a setting that was a mixture between a cafe and a library. It was really good for collaboration. And every single week we had something called Co-working Productivity Day. And on Co-working Productivity Day, the host of this Pomodoro segment would choose a couple of hours through the day that anyone could come and go as they please to get work done. And she would use the Pomodoro technique for it. So what we would do is we would all get into a classroom together. She would set the timer for Pomodoro and give us the rules. Before the timer went off, everybody around the room would say, hey, during this 25-minute work segment, this is the task I'm going to work on. So everyone would have to announce it to each other, and everyone in the room would know what everyone needed to be held accountable to. So then the timer would start, and at 25 minutes, everyone would work on their task. When 25 minutes is up and the timer goes off and we're doing our short break, this would be the time where we go around the room and we ask everyone, hey, did you complete that task? And if you didn't complete that task, why not? So then the host of this event would actually have this board with everyone's name on it. And every single time they completed a task, they would get colored off saying, congratulations, you completed a task, or there would be an arrow going into the next box saying that you're going to finish this during the next 25-minute segment. So everyone would go around the room and explain whether or not they completed it, and if they didn't, why not. And then the host would pay attention to the people who are continuously not completing a task. And if it becomes clear that one person is just super stuck on one task and has been working on that same thing the whole day, then what the facilitator of the event would do is they would work with that person separately in another room to try to help them figure out what is blocking them from finishing this task. And the reason that this co-working productivity day was so effective and so popular was because everybody in that room had someone to hold them accountable, had someone to announce what they were doing to, and to hold them accountable if they didn't finish it, which meant that people were motivated not just by the timer to get work done, but motivated by the fact that other people knew they weren't getting things done if they didn't finish it. So you don't have to do this in public in a classroom with a bunch of people, of course. And if you're watching this video in the time that it is released, which is in April of 2020, this is during COVID-19 anyway. So none of us are gathering anywhere, especially not in America. So you can definitely do this online. All you need to do is use a tool like Zoom or Skype or GoToMeet or what have you, any kind of tool with a video. And you don't have to be on video, but this is just effective because it means you see that there's a person there. So what you would do is, get a friend or two, however many. You can do this with just one person if you're more comfortable with that, or you can do this with a group of friends. And you make sure the Pomodoro is set, or whoever is going to be in charge of Pomodoro. Um, you all decide together how long you want the work time to be and how long you want the short break to be. And then what you do is at the start, just like my co-working productivity day, everyone announces what they're going to be doing during this segment. Then once they announce that, you ask everyone to mute their microphones. This is effective so that you're not getting distracted by whatever is going on in everybody's rooms during everyone's cameras. After everyone mutes their microphone, you set the timer, however much time you chose, and all of you work. You don't have to be on the camera or at the computer during this work time, as long as you announce what you were doing and everyone knows to hold you accountable. Then you just get to work all together with all in your separate videos on your task. Then when the timer goes off, whoever is the one person in charge of the Pomodoro tracker, and only one person should be in charge. Don't let everyone have separate Pomodoro trackers going off at separate times. One person has to manage it for the whole group. Then when the timer goes off and it's time for the short break, everyone needs to unmute their microphones and they need to explain shortly if they finished their task and why they didn't finish their task and if they think they need help with it. Then everybody can get up and go about their way after they've announced it and take a break, to refill their drink, to go for a walk, to step outside, just, however long your short break duration is. And then whatever you do, they'll let them know that they don't want to get too far away from the computer, or when the short break ends, they won't be there to hear you say, okay, the short break is over. Let's get back to working together. And then you all do that together. And that is my bonus tip. I think that is by far the most successful way to use Pomodoro, not just alone. Though for me, doing it alone has been very effective. I do it alone. I've been doing it by myself for years now, and I tend to get a lot of work done on my own, but I get way more work done and I'm way more motivated when I am doing this with other people. So I think this leads me into, in the near future, speaking of this Pomodoro technique that you share with friends, in the near future, I'm going to do a video on a platform called FocusMate, which essentially is a tool that matches you with strangers, just one stranger, so that you don't have to worry about hunting down friends to do this. FocusMate.com pairs you with a stranger and sets you automatically at 50 minutes with 10-minute break. And it's basically just like Pomodoro, but with the video. Something else that I think I might do a video on later is a comparison video about the different kinds of apps you can download on your phone for Pomodoro, or the different kinds of physical objects like this visual analog timer, which I'll have a link to in the description below, and a comparison video between all the websites like Pomodoro Tracker that I think might be effective. So I might do a comparison video of these to really narrow down what is the best tool. PomodoroTracker.com is the tool that I have been using for months now and really enjoy. So in my personal experience, it's my favorite tool. But there might be more out there that I don't know about. So in the comments below, let me know if there's another Pomodoro tool that you use and that you'd recommend. And another video I might do is something called Pomodoro Technique Work With Me. So what I'll do is a YouTube live video where I'll start it by listing my task of the day, and everybody who's in the comments can list their task, and we can work together on YouTube live as if we were doing a productivity day together. So I might also consider doing that later on. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in something like that, or if you have any advice for doing that in an effective way. All right, so I hope this video has been really helpful. If this is your first time watching one of my videos and you enjoyed this, want to be notified when there are more videos about resources that can help you succeed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will be notified when another video comes out. And if you are a returning viewer and you're already subscribed, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos, and I hope you would join me for my next video.